that on thinking it was just going to be like a comfort show. And then I was like, okay,
it's deep.
I need to look at yeah.
There are points in which I can see, well, the Bible says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So,
yeah, sure.
You know, I can find ways where it's like, okay, this concept, I can see how it's biblical.
It gives you this sort of language to understand why you can be successful. I'm actually gonna look at you. My mantra is, you are beautiful, you are powerful, you are worthy.
Hey beautiful, welcome back to the Kiya Convos podcast. This is the space for all things self-care, wellness and empowerment. I'm your host, Amoah, and today we have the gorgeous Kyra. Hi Kyra.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for coming down to speak today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Me too.
Good. So I usually like to kick off just by asking my guests to let the audience know a bit about you and your journey so far.
Yeah, sure. That's such a big question. I could talk ad nauseum about my journey so far. So my name is Kyra Matthews. I'm a mindset and confidence coach for creatives. I started my career in fashion. I did a fashion design degree. Oh, okay. I started my career in fashion styling. I worked with the likes of Days Magazine, ASOS, Paul Smith, The Times. You name it, I've probably had a little part in that somehow. 2020 happened, lockdown was announced in London, and I remember sitting on my toilet crying because I couldn't work in fashion styling anymore. Like, you are in the model's face, like you're in the photographer's face, like it just can't happen anymore. And I was like, what am I gonna do? Almost swore then. And I had been building up this community on Instagram because I started this podcast in the summer prior to lockdown. Okay. And my friend said to me once when we were on the shoot, she was like, you know what, you should turn that into something. Like, you've really got something going there. And I was like, no, it's just a little podcast. It's just a little hobby. And the podcast at the time, I was getting all of my friends like from across fashion to talk about their journey and how to be a freelancer, how to make money, how to have a creative practice. And then when lockdown happened, it was like the push. I was like, well, if you're going to do it, you're probably going to do it now. So I decided to become a coach. I took a course to teach me how to coach, and I spent most of that year like learning that skill. I then started working with stylists, but then photographers, videographers, illustrators came and wanted to work with me on the mindset piece. And yeah, since then I've worked with a number of brands: Squarespace, Adidas, Ganni, Papier. Oh, wow. Some incredible names. I've been flown to New York to work with a client, and yeah, it's been a really, really fun few years.
Okay, sure. No, that sounds really exciting. Well done, first of all. So what did it look like when you were first putting together, I guess, is it a program you have, or is it just one-to-one? Okay, so what did that look like when you were first initially putting it together?
Yeah, so I started working with clients one-on-one, and I was one of those coaches that was like, I love one-on-one because you can bring me your challenges and we can see the growth. And not to brag, or maybe to brag a bit, but I am such a good one-on-one coach. Like when we work together for 6 months, we really go deep on your problems. And I guess I always had that insecurity. I was like, I don't want a client to like pay me money and not get what they came for and more. But then I started working with brands. I started doing lots of talks, lots of conferences. I was invited to share my story a lot. And then I got a DM one day and someone said, hey, like, how are you finding all of these opportunities? Like, can you teach me how to do that? And that's when I launched my course, Pitch School. Okay, sure. Which Pitch School is all about helping service-based business owners and some product-based business owners learn how to pitch brands and corporates. So whether that's like on the content creation side, or they want to go do a talk at like Google head office, that's what it teaches you to do. And I've been running that since September last year, and it's been going really well.
Amazing.
Shout out to Pitch School watchers if you're watching. I don't know what that meant. Okay.
I love it. So when I was looking at your, well, I guess your page online and everything, you speak a bit about manifestation for personal brand. Yes. So tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so the mindset piece is really central to what I do, even though at the moment Pitch School is very much about selling. I think you can't do any of that work until you get the mindset piece, and manifestation is something that has been integral to my journey. I was introduced to manifestation when I was about 13 years old. My mum was really into it. She was a big fan of Tony Robbins, and a very American coach who I think has been discredited now, but at the time in the 90s when I was growing up, like, he was a big deal, big influence in my household. And she gave me the book The Secret, and if you haven't read it, The Secret is a book that is was meant to have popularized manifestation in the West in the 80s. And in the book, it talks about the power of visualization, being able to visualize the goal that you want before you have it. It talks about gratitude, this idea of saying thank you for this achievement or this thing that you want before it arrives. And it really details in there, like, those very sort of like Pinteresty clickbait ideas of manifestation and the law of attraction. And when I was about between the ages of 13 and 16, I remember reading this book and being like, this is so stupid. Like, this is so ridiculous. I was like in awe, but I was like, I had so much disbelief. And I was like, I'm going to go and test this. So I tested it on my GCSEs. I was like, I want A stars, like, across the board. And so anytime I was doing an exam, it doesn't matter if it was a mock paper or like a real live exam, when the examiner would be like, okay, pens down, I would turn my paper to the front, write A star on the front. So anytime anyone got a grade from me, I had already graded it myself. And I would like visualize opening my results, that envelope that you get, and like seeing all those A stars, and I like spent so much time visualizing. And I remember it got to results day, I'm standing there, I open that envelope, and I did not get a single A star. I got like 8 or 9 A's or something like that. I was still super happy with that. And I think it was the thing that made me, okay, like, this isn't exactly what I wanted, but it was close enough. And so I went to university, forgot about manifestation a little bit. And there was a period, I think in 2017, where I was like, I'm going to pick this back up. I'm going to bring this back into my life. I'm going to make it more central into my life. And
what made you come to that?
I was really unhappy. To like put a long story short, I think I felt really disillusioned with the fashion industry. The fact working in fashion was such a goal and a dream of mine, and up to that point, I'm not going to say it felt easy, but I had proximity because of the university I went to, because of my family lived in London, but I think I felt like, yeah, I just got there and I was like, this is not it. And I felt so like, gosh, then if it's not this, I don't know what it is. So I went on this journey of discovery. And since then, I've been spending a lot of time trying to like go through that book, The Secret, again as an adult, and like test out the theories. Like, how does the visualization actually work? How does the gratitude actually work? Can I put this into my life without like spending 8 hours meditating on a hill, like that sort of stuff? So yeah, that's where I am now with it, I'd say.
And so what made you incorporate that into your course and into your coaching?
Yeah, I think humans need something to believe in. I was working with people who were really early in their career in fashion, and they were really struggling to see why they was worthy of success. Like, I feel like in a capitalist society, we're kind of taught that like only a certain type of person is allowed to be successful or should be successful. So when you're 19, 20, 21 and you're looking at the industry, you kind of are like, it's really easy to feel like, you know, I'm not anything special. There's hundreds and thousands of stylists and they all look like they're way better than me. Like, who the hell am I to go out and to try and be something in this industry? And it was something that my clients kept on running up against a lot. And that's when I was like, okay, I realize that the law of attraction, manifestation, it gives you this thought process where if you believe in it and you agree with it, it gives you this sort of language to understand why you can be successful, even if you aren't a white man, even if you haven't come from a rich family. This is what you can achieve. It's I'm wanting to be really careful with my words, because I think manifestation, it has such like a white woman association, and I think with my work I try to make it intersectional. I didn't come from a wealthy family. I didn't come from that kind of background that you might associate with manifestation, so I'm always trying to be like, to question how I can bring it into my world. But essentially manifestation, I think it gives you this language to say, okay, fine, success in some ways gets to be neutral.
Okay.
And what I mean by neutral is it gets to be something that you can create with your thoughts, with your mind, and you create failure in some cases with your thoughts and your mind, and manifestation gives you the tools for how to create that success. And then when I started doing that, sharing that with my clients in the coaching, they were like, oh, okay, it was so much more easier to see how they could fit into the industries that they wanted to work with. And I've kept it going since there. I will say though, do you know what your Saturn returns is?
No.
Oh! Okay, so in all fairness, I don't really know what it is either. But in astrology, your Saturn returns roughly is like every 27 years you go through like Saturn moves in the sky, and it basically means like, it's kind of like your own personal Mercury in retrograde. I'm definitely doing it a disservice, but it means that you just go through a mess every 27 years. You're trying to realign, you're trying to become authentic. So I will say that I have just finished my Saturn returns. So it means that I went through some stuff that made me question my relationship with the universe. But yeah, it's always been something that's been in the like background of my work and my thinking.
Okay. No, I find it so interesting. So for me, when it comes to manifestation, astrology, I'm a Christian, and it's always been like a grey area. I know. Yeah, so it's always been a grey area for me. There are points in which I can see, well, the Bible says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So,
yeah, sure.
You know, I can find ways where it's like, okay, this concept, I can see how it's biblical. I can align with that, so to speak. And then there's other elements that I'm like, okay, I don't understand it.
Tell me the elements you don't understand, like where you're like...
So for me, it's a thing of, I don't want to say I'm open-minded.
Okay.
But I'm open-minded in the sense that I can have conversations and I can accept everyone's point of view. So I can sit with you, you can say Saturn returns, and I'll be like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I would like to understand.
You're not like, this is insane.
No, I would like to understand what it means, you know, what it means to you, what it does for you. I can accept that everyone has things that they believe in and that they align with. I have my core beliefs as a Christian.
Yeah, interesting.
But I'm open to hearing and understanding.
That's so interesting.
Things. Yeah.
I grew up in a very Christian background.
Okay.
My mum herself wasn't a Christian, but like I had family members that were very close, that were very Christian, who would go to the services on Sunday. And I would do Bible study and things like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when I started playing around with spirituality outside of religion, I felt very scared. Okay, I was always told that like like my grandma used to always tell me that like if you watch horror films, like you're inviting negative spirits into the house. Like my family's also Jamaican as well.
Same.
Yeah, which adds a lot of like context to this, and you know, tarot, playing with astrology and things, they were from the devil and all of this stuff. So when I was exploring this in my own life, it definitely felt a little bit risky. I think some of the things, I wouldn't call myself a Christian so much anymore. My family was Jehovah's Witness, which is a type of a domination of Christianity, but I definitely feel like there's elements of Christianity that I still think is really interesting. And some things I feel like are really challenging to accept about it. But it's almost like, it's really interesting because I feel like I'm able to accept manifestation because of my desire to believe in like this goodness in humans and this greatness. And I like how it talks about like nature and planets and all beings. I just think that that's so lovely. And I do wonder if I didn't grow up in that background, would I be into it as I am as an adult?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I feel like you're saying some of the things that you learnt in Christianity or those core beliefs, the things that I align with in terms of scripture, they've kind of helped you to build upon that foundation and develop your own belief system, I guess.
I guess, like, what kind of Christian are you?
Christian, not Jehovah's Witness, Pentecostal. Christian,
okay. So Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't need to talk too much about them, but they have some like some beliefs that are very different to like other Christians. And I think growing up, I was really struggled. I was like, oh gosh, like, I just don't think, even as a child, I was like, what they were saying, I was like, I just don't think that this is me. This is not what I believe in. I believe in, you know, equal rights. I believe in like so many things that are just different. And I think that I left that experience seeing so much benefit that people get from religion, but then just not being able to fit into that myself. And then I feel like manifestation gave me a place where I'm like, okay, cool, like I can kind of see like where this fits for me.
And I found what I found so interesting was there are quite a lot of people out there doing coaching, whether it's lifestyle coaching, confidence and all of that. But the way that you brought that element in, I found quite interesting.
Oh, cool.
And I like what you said about people need something to believe in. So for me, I believe, okay, I'm a child of God. I believe that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So if I believe that God has put me on this earth to fulfill a specific purpose, he's going to work things out for me so I can fulfill that purpose. So in times when things seem like they're not working, I'm like, no, but God has definitely given me this purpose for a reason, so he's going to work it out. So I get where that comes from, and I do think it's something that people do need. Everybody needs it to have something to believe in, whether it is God, in terms of the God I believe in, or whatever it is. I think that does help to motivate people. So it's interesting that you made that connection and brought it into what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I think I loved what you said there, because I feel like it's such an empowering mindset to have when you're like, okay, things aren't working for me. You can think, oh, it means I'm a failure. It means it's never going to work. It means there's no space for me. It's oversaturated. You can kind of collapse and close in on yourself, but instead you're kind of like, oh no, actually what is meant to come will come. And I feel like it's such a more empowering way to think about the world and your life. And we need to have some reason as to why that kind of makes sense. What I like about manifestation is that a lot of it is backed up by science. And I know we're talking about religion here, and you know, the science piece, whatever, but I have no idea what I'm trying to say, but in my mind that just kind of makes sense. But I think one of the things that, if you aren't a religious person, manifestation and the science behind it can make it really
I guess, easier to accept.
Yeah,
Okay, sure.
you can be like, okay, fine. If you're like a more like logical person and you didn't grow up with religion, you can be like, okay, fine, like I see. Like I love like some of the research about visualization, for example. Like I think it was 2019, the Journal of Sports Psychology published this really interesting paper about this group of footballers in Turkey that were put into these different groups. One group had they were just like a control group. They had no tasks and nothing to do. They were just kind of that control. And another group was asked to visualize at the games before they played them.
Yeah.
And in the visualizations, they were encouraged to think about, you know, going onto the pitch and hearing your home crowd cheering you on and they're wanting you to win, and to visualize things like, imagine like the best player on the other team tries to tackle you, but you successfully like win the ball over, and all of this positive thinking, and also like visualizing challenge and visualizing yourself overcoming them.
Yes,
and then the researchers found that those football players were able to increase their performance because of these visualizations. And so you know, I don't think that study doesn't sit alone. There's so many studies about that, and you start to think, oh, like the human brain actually does have this creative capacity, and we can use that to achieve our goals. And I think that's so interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had Dr. Yar, she came on the podcast a few weeks ago, and she recommended a book called Cybernetics.
I love that book.
Yeah, so I got it based on her recommendation, and it speaks a lot about, you know, visualizing and things like that. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's a very interesting arena, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it back to the coaching.
Yes.
You mentioned that you help people with their confidence and pitching and things like that. So practically, what does that look like when they take your course?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I think people kind of think that they don't need confidence. Some people do. But some people kind of think that they don't need any help with their confidence. They kind of think, well, if I just knew how to achieve XYZ goal, then I would just go and do it. But I don't know how to do it, so therefore I can't do it. And pitch goal is really interesting because down to like even like what you should say to the people that you want to book you, like down to the minutest details, I tell you how to do it. And people still are terrified. And I relate to them heavily because pitching is very, very scary. This is where the mindset and the confidence piece comes in. I think that when you are out pitching someone, and I'll just back up and say, you pitch yourself when you are, you know, you are a speaker and you want to do a talk at a conference. You pitch yourself when you are wanting to come on a podcast. You pitch yourself when you are wanting to work with a big brand and you're a social media agency and you want to have their business. There are so many instances where we're using the skill of pitching. And I think people are afraid to put their hand up and say, hey, I really want this opportunity, because they're afraid of the rejection that can come.
Yeah.
And I think that when we are afraid of rejection, we're almost kind of saying that emotionally, we won't survive if this person rejects me. Emotionally, we won't survive if this person says no. They're going to think I'm a terrible person. They're going to think I'm not good enough. And maybe that person is right. And that's where the confidence comes in. It's like, actually, how much power are you giving this person to say and decide who you are? Are you perhaps giving them too much power? Can we reevaluate that relationship? What happens if this person does say no? Are there other reasons why they might say no other than, you know, the fact that you're a terrible person? Maybe they're busy. Maybe you kind of applied too late and you needed to get in there earlier. Maybe there are hundreds of thousands of people that would still really be interested in your work and what you do. Can we reframe this? So the pitching works well with the confidence because, you know, it's those two pieces.
Yeah, definitely. when it comes to, so that's something I've entered the world in, pitching. So I do corporate workshops now.
Oh, fantastic.
I try.
Of course you do. I love
that. That's something that it took me a long time to start reaching out to people initially.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I secured one, so then the confidence has grown a bit. So I'm like, okay,
You're like, I'm good at this.
Yeah. I mean, I try. What are common things that you have seen, I guess, throughout working with different clients, that are common blockages, I guess, towards being able to just reach their full confidence potential, so to speak?
My God, there's so many. Definitely, like, depending on where you are in business, I almost feel like if you play like Mario Kart or like any sort of game where there's levels, I kind of see business like that. Like on level 1, you're like, what should my website be called? Like, what is my branding? And oh no, will people like it? And all of this stuff. And then every level is a new thing that you have to learn and think about. I would say the most common thing when it comes to putting yourself out is that, especially when it's towards like a big business or a very famous organization. So at the start of this conversation, I mentioned a couple of brands that I worked with. A lot of people realize that when they start to think about, oh, I want to work with Netflix, I want to work with Sky, I want to work with, The Guardian or whatever, they start to feel really insecure because they're like, well, I'm just this one person. They kind of put Netflix on a pedestal. They're like, they're going to be so smart, and what do I have to teach them? And why are they going to, why are they going to care about my story? They're like at the top of the world. And so there's this imposter syndrome that comes up, and that's definitely a big one. People, if you don't clock it in your mind, what you'll do is you'll think about pitching Netflix, and then you'll be like, you know what, I'm going to do it in 6 months when my website is complete.
Yeah.
And then 6 months comes, the website is done, and you're like, you know what, I'm going to do it in a couple of months when I get my headshots. The headshots come, and you realize years and years and years have gone by, and you haven't pitched Netflix.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't even think you need a website to pitch. Like, you can literally find someone on LinkedIn, get their email, and build a conversation, build a relationship. So much business is done via relationships. And I think my job when I'm working with a client is to show them how the world is malleable, how building relationships, even with corporate companies, doesn't have to be scary.
Yeah.
And that success is possible for you, but you have to pay something. And by pay something, I mean you have to be willing to feel the emotional toll of fear, of worry, of doubt, and still do that thing. Pitch to Netflix, pitch to Guardian, whatever you're pitching for.
Yeah, sure. So, selfish question. Who do you recommend?
I love it.
Who do you recommend is like the best entry point for these big, because there's such big organizations, whether it's me pitching for a workshop or an influencer that wants to pitch to make content for the brand. Who would you say is the best type of contact to reach out to?
That's a good question. It depends what you want to do with the organization. So if you are, and the reason why I say that is because it's such a big organization, it means that there are going to be different teams that look after different things. And sometimes those teams talk to each other, and sometimes they're really siloed inside an organization. So if you are someone and you go in and you work with employees, so maybe you do well-being, yoga, breath work, maybe you do talks on mindset and confidence. For employees, you're going to want to speak to someone in the HR department. For a large organization like Netflix, there potentially will be people who work in learning development. Okay. The people and culture team, they are sort of looking after all of the people that work there, and they usually have some sort of employee program. And that employee program can look like free gym memberships. We see that a lot in jobs, but then it can also look like having speakers and workshops held in the head office and things like that. If you're wanting to do something like content, and let's say maybe you are a UGC creator, or potentially you even have your own platform like a podcast or something like that, then that is going to be a function of marketing. And the reason why I say marketing is because content creation is a branch of advertising,
Yeah.
and the brand uses content creators for advertising. So those people are going to be either the social media team you're wanting to speak to, or the marketing team that you're wanting to speak to. It's really important that when you're reaching out to these teams, like, you are reaching out to the person who is closest to the budget, because they're going to have the authorization to book you. So something that people say to me often is like, yeah, I've got a connection to Netflix, so that will be so easy for me. I'm like, okay, amazing. I love this. Who's your connection? Yeah, my friend works in the graphic design department or something. And you're kind of just like, okay, that's so great. I love that your friend does that. But are they a director? Do they have access to the budget? Do they make decisions about who is going to be the next speaker for the next International Women's Day event? Probably not. Can you go and find that person? And that is the work that we do, because all of a sudden that person then goes, oh my God, I'm afraid to reach out to this person. They seem so busy and important. And I'm like, you're actually helping them do their job.
Yeah.
It is so frustrating when you're like, gosh, I need someone to talk about religion, or I need someone to talk about fitness, and you can't think of anyone who could do that talk. It's so useful when someone slides into your inbox and they're like, hey, by the way, I do talks about fitness. Let me know if this is going to be of interest to you. I'd love to chat. And then like a couple of months later, you're like, actually, no, I need that person. Like that is so useful. And that is why you should pitch. You're helping that person do their job. And by holding back and hiding, you don't do anyone a disservice.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very interested to know, how did you build your you mentioned all of the big brands you've worked with. How did you first establish relationships with those brands?
Yeah. So I have a really, I'm really honest with my story when it comes to pitching. So in 2021, I was talking about manifestation a lot on the internet, and brands loved that. I was doing I did so many manifestation talks in 2021, and it was amazing. And then it started to dry up. I think it's not that manifestation wasn't in the zeitgeist. I think it just, they moved on to other things that were trending.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, I really loved working with those brands. Why aren't they? Where is it?
Yeah.
And so then I decided I'm going to learn everything I can about this. I'm going to learn it so I can do this. And I'm never in this position again where I'm waiting on a brand to come to me. And one of the ways that I decided to learn this is, I didn't decide to work for a brand and learn all about influencers and content creators and things like that. I decided to join a tech startup, and I worked in the sales team.
Oh, okay.
So I worked directly with the CEO of this tech company, and every single day I would have to cold call vice presidents and presidents of organizations and attempt to sell them this technology. I would be emailing them, LinkedIning them, you name it. I was doing it, hustling. And I did that for about a year in 2022. And I left that company, and then I took all of those sort of corporate sales approaches and used it in my own business. And I was like, whoa, I started doing it for myself, and I was like, okay, this is it. One of the companies I talk about a lot is this brand called Ganni. They're a fashion brand. They are based in Copenhagen, so it's a Danish fashion brand. I hope that geography is correct.
Don't ask me, I'm sorry. Not my strength.
Yeah, and I really wanted to work with them. My approach to building a relationship with them, it took about a year from them. So it took a while. And this is why I say start before you're ready. Because if you're ready and then it takes a year to close that deal, then it's not a great situation to be in. But it took about a year for us to work together. And let me think. I started hosting these events for my community called Future Self Nights. And I hosted one in a store in Walthamstow called Pavement. It's a pink store inside, really, really nice. And the lady in that store was saying, oh, we're going to be stocking Ganni soon, the brand. I was like, that's so cool. I hosted the event at Pavement, And then I put on my stories, hey, Gani, I would love to do an event with you. I just tagged them in my stories. And it just so happened that someone from the marketing team at Gani saw that story and was like, hey, let's do this. And that is like a perfect situation. It's
alignment.
That's alignment, right.
Yeah.
It still took months and months of following up. Like, so we had a meeting, we chatted about it, they were really excited, and then they just went silent. And if I showed you the email thread, it's like me like, hey, like, how are you doing? Just following up on this. Hey, did you get my last email?
Just
hey, like, I
checking
just, yeah, like a week after week after week after week. It got to the point where we had a meeting and they were like, we're not going anywhere, we're just busy. And I'm like, okay.
Sorry.
Okay. And then eventually I did have an event in their store.
Oh, amazing.
And that is my approach for all of the partnerships I do, unless an organization comes to me, which I will say, usually I'm going to them. But I'm always finding ways to build relationships. If I could like put this into a nutshell, so like people watching could do this, I would say to remember that you're never actually pitching a company, you're always pitching a person.
Yeah.
So if we go back to the example of Netflix is a large organization, it's publicly traded, but that entity is made up of people. The human resources department is made up of individuals. They have likes, dislikes, goals, dreams, desires, aspirations. That is also their job. So I have friends that are employed and they moan about their job all the time and like they can't wait to leave and they love holidays and blah, blah, blah. What I'm trying to say is the people that work there probably have more in common with you than you think.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you can build a relationship with them just like you would any other person? Like, so you might be like, you might look for your commonalities. Like, what do you have in common? Have they recently, I do a lot of social media stalking. So I'll be like, have they recently been to Jamaica? Have they, just announced that they got a new dog? Or, you're sort of looking for those ins where you can start a conversation just as you would any other time. I will say is that if you find it hard to talk to strangers in real life, you're going to hate trying to talk to them on the internet, I think. You may find that really hard. And to that, I would say definitely practice striking up a conversation with someone at a networking event. But you do the exact same with the organizations that you want to work with.
Yeah.
And eventually you have the chance to be like, hey, by the way, I would love to talk to you about these workshops that I do, these talks that I do, this podcast that I host. Do you have some time next week to talk about potentially working together?
Yeah.
And literally my mantra is...
No, don't share it yet. I'm going to ask you later what your mantra is. Pause. No, this has been so good. I have one last question. Are you anti-cold pitching then? Do you recommend reaching out? So I would reach out to a HR person and build a relationship first, or go straight in with, hey, I have this offer. Do you think it would be of interest to your team?
I think cold pitching is like you have to. Like you just have to. I do it all the time. There are definitely ways that you can do that. I think I get people pitch me and I would say I get a lot of examples of how not to do it.
Okay.
Do not slide into someone's inbox and say, hey, by the way, you're doing it wrong. Like, let me do it better.
Oh, yeah. Emails.
You're at the bottom of Google SEO list. Like, okay, fine, thanks.
But you found me.
Yeah, exactly. Somehow. Don't offer them your services without taking the time to understand how it works. So that first email that you're sending out, you're not adding any, you can have the link to your website. I think that's super useful to have. You might be like, hey, I host workshop on these kind of topics. You kind of are keeping it a little bit vague. And the reason why is that if you go in and you're like, I'm a fitness coach and I want to, host a 45-minute session for your employees for XYZ, it's really easy for them to say, yeah, we don't need that. You haven't taken the time to figure out what do they need, what are they interested in, and can you support them with that? So I would be a little bit more vague and I'd be like, oh, hey, Netflix, I'm a fitness coach. I've been working with XYZ organizations to achieve XYZ result. I would love to hear how you're supporting your employees with this, and if this is something that I can support with. Let me know if you have a few minutes to chat next week. And then you're sort of kind of being a little bit more open. You're allowing them to come to that call, if you get on the call with them, to say, yeah, like our employees have been challenged with burnout, or our employees are experiencing menopause, or our employees are, they've just come back from having a baby and they're feeling really stressed. And that's what we're trying to find support with. And then you get to provide a really tailored solution that shows that you care, that shows that you're invested in the organization, and is relevant to what they're going to be spending budget and money on. So that's usually how I approach it. And then you kind of get to like build that relationship as you go. So I love building relationships with companies. I'm always doing it. But then at the same time, sometimes I need to just like send a cold pitch, and I encourage people to do that.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. This has been so interesting. So many gems. I'm taking mental notes. That's been so good. Changing gears slightly, winding it down. What does self-care mean to you?
Oh, I love this. I think self-care means... Oh gosh, such a simple question and such a hard one at the same time. I think self-care means caring for your mind, body and spirit. I think anything that you can do to nurture yourself. What self-care looks like to me at the moment is going for walks without my headphones, which seems so simple. Excuse me. I live in Margate, so I live on the coast, and the beach is like 5 minutes from my house, and I love coastal walks. So I leave my headphones in my pocket and I walk across the beach, I watch the sunset, and that is self-care for me.
Perfect. No, that sounds really good. I've got in the habit of driving sometimes with no music, just my thoughts. So I definitely relate to that.
I love that, sifting through everything on your drives. Nice.
Yeah. So you've had a really busy day, stressful. You're just feeling all the negative emotions. You get home. What are you doing to relax?
There's like the idolize, and there's what I actually do.
We all have that.
What you see on Instagram or what I'm doing?
What are you really doing?
I am opening my laptop, I'm getting into bed, and I'm watching Married at First Sight Australia.
Okay. I love a good binge.
Do you watch Married at First Sight? I feel like you don't. Okay.
But I love a good binge.
Okay.
I've got many programs that I watch.
What are you binging at the moment?
At the moment, I just discovered 2 days ago, Years and Years on Netflix.
I watched that.
I'm up to I'm watching the final episode today.
Okay, so you're a good way through, yeah.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's scary.
I put that on thinking it was just going to be like a comfort show, and then I was like, okay,
it's deep.
I need to look at. Yeah, I was like, I can't just like, because I was cooking, and I was like, okay, no, actually, I need to sit down and watch it.
Deep. It's scaring me, actually.
Yeah, it really is.
So that's what I'm currently watching. Yeah.
Okay, nice, very nice. Do you have anything against like reality TV?
Oh, no, I watch most things. I've seen it. Okay. I've said I'm going to watch it. I just haven't quite got into it.
I see. Okay, fine. You'll love it.
Perfect. No, it's been such a good conversation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we're at the point now. Please let our audience know what your key takeaway, your mantra for life is, that you want them to take away.
Okay, I had that mantra. I put a pin in it, and now my brain is like empty. What was I gonna say? Yes, here it is. My mantra is, and I'm actually gonna look at you. My mantra is that when you are following up, when you want something, when you decide, okay, I'm gonna go work with Netflix, you are either gonna get a yes or a no. A no reply is not an answer. The reason why I say that is because a lot of people will build up the courage to send that first email and they'll be like, oh, well, they didn't reply, so I guess they're not interested. We don't know. We don't do that. We follow up until we get a yes or no. They're either going to say, no, this is not what we need, or yes, I would love to talk further. And even when they say no, I would want you to put a little notice in your calendar 3 months later to the day that they say no, and I want you to follow up and say, hey, I know you were really busy last time, but I just want to check, is now a better time to chat? It's a yes or no, and we follow up until we get a yes.
I love that. And you know why I love that? Because this morning I got a response from someone that I emailed in February. We are now at the end of April.
Yes.
And they were like, so sorry I missed this. I definitely want to work with you. And I was like, oh, I'd even forgotten about you.
Wait, who is this? Sorry, let me.
So I align with that, definitely. Yeah. 100%.
Thank you.
No response is not an answer.
Yeah. No, because
follow up.
I know you're ending the conversation, but I have so many things to say. What I would just say is that, like, sometimes people go on maternity leave and they haven't seen your email, or their kid is sick and they have to go and leave work early, or maybe they're having some issues with their manager, and there's just so many things going on for that person. They're a normal human being just like you. They may be working on a really busy project and they haven't had the chance to get back to your email. When you follow up, you give them the chance to be like, oh yeah, I didn't reply to XYZ person. I should probably go do that now. And it's just really important that you do that. Like, there's so many deals and opportunities that I had that if I didn't follow up, or if I took it personally that people didn't reply, they wouldn't have existed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just really important to do.
I don't usually like to go past 2 follow-ups, so now I'm like, I'm going to go and do a 3rd.
I do like 7 or 8 follow-ups.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And even then, I'll do 7 and 8 follow-ups, then I'll give you a break, and then I'll come back a few months later and be like, hey.
I'm back.
And I might message you on another platform. So if I've been emailing you and I followed up and you didn't reply, I might go to LinkedIn or Instagram. We're going to get a yes or no either way.
No, I love it. I love it so much. Very encouraging. Thank you so much again for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Can you please let everyone know where they can find you? You did mention Future Self Nights, because I noticed that as well. So, just let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, so come and find me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Kyra the Bold. My website is Kyra Matthews, and I'm also on LinkedIn at Kyra Matthews as well.
Perfect. And I'll have everything linked below.
Thank you.
And how often do you do the Future Self Night?
Do you know what? I haven't done one. Oh no, I did one this year.
Okay.
Last year I was doing it like most months I did them.
Okay.
But I do them maybe once a quarter.
Okay, perfect. So you can find out more about that as well when you follow Kyra online.
Yay, thank you.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let us know your key takeaway in the comments below. We'd love to keep the conversation going there. Apart from that, have a blessed day. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.